G'day guys, it's Hugo here from Depot with a video coming to you live from the Yarra River. Well, that's where I am right now, about 11 kilometres from the heart of Melbourne City or CBD. I'm in the suburb of Richmond, where I live. Now, if I was to take the river down that way, I would get all the way to Port Phillip Bay, just past the city, and that is one of the largest expanses of water near any major city in the world. That's why sometimes Melbourne is called the city by the bay. Now, this river, the Yarra River, has shaped Melbourne for many generations, but even long before white colonisation of this area. You see, the indigenous people here called this river Barun or Birrung. An ever-flowing river, really, was its name. Now, unfortunately, that gets lost in translation. In 1835, when Batman and his Port Phillip Association arrive into roughly where the city of Melbourne is today, they asked the indigenous people there, hey, what do you call this river? Now, the indigenous people responded, Yarra Yarra. Now, in their language, that meant flowing water or a large expanse of water. They were basically saying, hey, yeah, it's water. Is that what you want to know, right? Of course, that mistake was never really corrected, and Yarra River became the term for the river, even though it's like calling it the River today. Now, if you look at the Yarra, a lot of Melburnians will know that this river has an unfortunate reputation as the river that runs upside down. And that is due to the colour of it. Look, it is this brown, unfortunately for Melburnians, quite unattractive colour. Today, the river is quite healthy, but we've done some terrible things to it in the past. And one of those things is the result, or the colour of the river rather, is a result of what we have done to it in the past. You see, we expanded this river, we lengthened it, we widened it, we dug it deeper, all in the name of better river transport, of progress. And in doing so, we disturbed all these loose clay particles that the riverbed sits on. Now, once these loose particles had been disturbed, they get kind of mixed up in the fresh water. It wouldn't have been a problem because they would have settled back down onto the bottom layer of the river, except we'd done something else. We had blown up a small waterfall where the city is today, roughly where the Melbourne Aquarium is, and it meant all the salt water has now flowed back up the river, up to this area here. And it means with the salinity in the water is more buoyant. All those small loose clay particles have now become suspended in the water, and that's why we have this brownish colour today. Now, as I said, it is healthier today, especially in the last few years. The council and the government has done a great job of cleaning it up. But for a long time, you would be avoiding this river. You would be avoiding anything to really do with it. And this goes all the way back into like the gold rush era of Melbourne, because we didn't have sewerage in this city for a long time. So you can imagine that all the human waste was just kind of thrown into the streets. This is not even mentioning the abattoirs and all the other industrial waste that is just dumped into the river. And as soon as it would rain, all this filth and blood and guts and human waste would flow all the way in to the Yarra River. Guess where we were drinking from in the early days of the settlement? The Yarra River. It is no wonder that a whole range of waterborne illnesses and diseases were prevalent, cholera and the like, in the early days of the settlement. Luckily, we've fixed most of those problems now. As soon as we got our sewage system and pumped all that waste out to Werribee, things started slowly to improve for the river. And today, I think Melburnians are quite proud of our water source. We've really spent a lot of time and effort developing our waterways. And if you go along to South Bank or South Wharf, those areas of Melbourne were pretty empty a few years ago, but now have become a real kind of highlight of Melbourne to take a walk along South Bank and the Yarra River. So next time you're in Melbourne, I'd love to see you at the Yarra River. This is Hugo from Depot, and if you've loved this video, then please hit this subscribe button. We're a tour company at the moment with not many tourists, so we would love your support. And if you'd love more content like this, hit that subscribe button, and there'll be more of this content coming your way. See you next time.